After Commissioner Cathy Engelbert allegedly misrepresented conversations with players like Nafisa Keir, Caitlin Clark's patience snapped. She didn't launch into speeches or interviews. Instead, she quietly liked critical posts, supported Keir's public stand, and sent a message louder than any press conference. Her silence became strategy. That subtle defiance exposed deeper fractures. Frustration over unfair play, ignored safety concerns, and leadership that had grown disconnected from its own stars. Suddenly, the WNBA's golden face had become its fiercest critic, and the league could no longer hide its instability. Now, as Clark confirms she's being sued by Commissioner Engelbert, the conflict isn't just legal, it's symbolic. It's about control, credibility, and the direction of women's basketball itself. This video breaks down how a single player, the league's brightest light, became the center of a power struggle threatening to rewrite the future of the WNBA. The question isn't just whether Clark can withstand the pressure, it's whether the league can survive the truth she's forcing into the open. Caitlin Clark just went from rising star to political lightning rod, and depending who you ask, the WNBA might never be the same. It started with the rough games, elbows flying, bodies hitting the floor. Caitlin Clark, the golden girl of women's basketball, was suddenly taking hits that felt less like defense and more like a statement. And every time she got knocked down, it raised the same question. Where's the league? Where's the protection? Where's the respect? But the real bomb didn't drop on the court. It came from behind the scenes, and now things are boiling over. This week, Caitlin Clark confirmed she's being sued by WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. Yes, sued. And while the legal drama itself is wild, it's just the surface of something much bigger. We're talking about a full-blown leadership crisis inside the WNBA, a breakdown of trust, and a player uprising that's shaking the very foundation of the league. It's messy, it's public, and Caitlin Clark just threw gasoline on a fire that was already burning. Let's rewind. For months, there's been tension brewing between players and the WNBA's top brass. At the center of it all, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. She's been accused of misrepresenting conversations with players, especially Nafisa Keir, vice president of the Players' Union, and brushing off serious concerns about how athletes are being treated. Think player safety, league transparency, basic respect. When Keir called her out publicly, it didn't just rattle the league. It cracked it wide open. Keir wasn't subtle. She accused Engelbert of lying about their conversations, dismissed her leadership style, and made it clear that players were tired of being ignored. It was rare, direct, and long overdue, according to fans and analysts who've been tracking the growing divide between players and executives. But then came the unexpected twist. Caitlin Clark took a side, and she didn't choose silence. Clark had always played it safe, known for her game, not her politics, her talent, not her tweets. But after Keir's comments exploded across the media, Clark made her position clear. She backed Keir, publicly, vocally. It started with subtle social media moves, liking fan tweets that called out the league, quietly boosting posts critical of Engelbert. Then came the open endorsement of Keir's message. And in the WNBA, that's not just support, it's defiance. Caitlin Clark, the face of the league, was done playing nice. It was a turning point, because the WNBA doesn't just need Clark. It relies on her. She's a ratings magnet, the fan favorite, the corporate darling. And when she starts criticizing leadership, it signals one thing. The players are no longer asking. They're demanding change. But Engelbert didn't back down. In fact, things only got more chaotic. Instead of addressing the growing backlash with transparency, Engelbert doubled down, denied the allegations, dismissed the players' frustrations, held awkward press conferences that did nothing to ease tensions. And somewhere in that spiral, the lawsuit dropped. Sources close to the situation say the legal action isn't just about defamation, it's about control. Engelbert is reportedly accusing Clark of damaging her reputation by aligning with what she claims are false statements from Keir and other players. Clark, of course, isn't backing down. Her team has confirmed the lawsuit exists, and while she hasn't spoken directly about the details, her silence on this speaks louder than any denial. She's not playing defense. She's holding her ground, and fans are watching every move. What's happening now is bigger than just one player or one commissioner. It's a power shift, a reckoning. The players are no longer willing to be managed like pawns in a PR game, and Clark, by standing with Keir, has become the unofficial leader of the shift. She didn't ask for the role, but now that she's in it, she's making it count. And the league? It's scrambling, because this is all unfolding right before the next round of collective bargaining negotiations. The players' union is gearing up for a major fight. The 2026 season is looming, and whispers of lockout are getting louder. Sponsors are watching. The NBA is watching. Everyone is asking the same question. Can the WNBA survive this? Let's not forget, this is a league that's finally gaining traction. Ratings are up. Sponsorships are climbing. Public interest is exploding thanks to stars like Clark. But none of that matters if the players don't feel respected, if leadership can't be trusted, if the system itself is broken. And right now it feels broken. Clark's subtle protest, liking tweets, backing Keir, refusing to pretend everything's fine, isn't just about drama. It's about exposing a pattern of disregard, of silence, of brushing issues under the rug, while players put their bodies on the line and try to grow the sport. Even NBA players have started to weigh in, quietly and not so quietly supporting the WNBA athletes in their call for better treatment. The support has turned this from an internal beef into a public referendum on leadership. And Cathy Engelbert? Her credibility is hanging by a thread. Multiple outlets have reported that her denials around conversations with players aren't holding up. The timelines don't match. The stories are inconsistent. And the optics? Bad. Really bad. It's not just that players are frustrated. It's that they no longer believe the person running the league is acting in good faith. That's a dangerous place to be. Because when players lose faith in leadership, they stop engaging. They stop protecting the brand. They start speaking out. And when the league's biggest star is willing to stand up, it gives everyone else permission to follow. That's what's happening right now. Clark is becoming more than an athlete. She's becoming a voice, a catalyst. And whether or not Engelbert expected this level of pushback, it's clear the old rules don't apply anymore. This isn't the era where players stay quiet and executives call the shots. This is the era where one like on Twitter can launch a movement, where silence is interpreted as complicity, where being neutral isn't an option. And the WNBA better catch up, because the players are done waiting. The media, of course, is having a field day. Headlines have shifted from box scores to boardroom battles. Post-game interviews are now about politics. The entire narrative of the season has flipped, from competition on the court to chaos off it. And Clark is still in the middle of it all. Some say she's risking her image. Others say she's finally using her platform. Either way, the impact is undeniable. She's changed the stakes, and the pressure is only growing. If the league doesn't respond with real accountability, if leadership keeps dodging, denying, deflecting, the fallout won't just be a messy lawsuit or a tense negotiation. It'll be a crisis of legitimacy. Because if players don't trust the commissioner, who does? And if the star of the league is publicly challenging the leadership, what does that say about the state of the WNBA? It says the system needs fixing, fast. Whether or not this lawsuit goes anywhere legally, the court of public opinion is already in session. And right now, it's not looking good for Cathy Engelbert. The WNBA has a choice: evolve or fracture. Caitlin Clark made hers. And while she didn't set out to lead a rebellion, that's exactly where she's standing. In the middle of a league at war with itself, surrounded by fans demanding answers, with a spotlight brighter than ever, and no intention of dimming it. If the WNBA wants to survive this moment, it'll take more than spin. It'll take leadership, transparency, and the kind of humility that's been missing from the top. But one thing's clear: Caitlin Clark isn't backing down. And now, neither is anyone else. If you think this is over, just wait until the next CBA fight. Drop a comment below. Whose side are you on? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more breakdowns of the biggest meltdowns in sports, celebrity, and corporate drama. This story is far from finished. Caitlin Clark wasn't supposed to be the problem. She was supposed to be the fix. She was a golden ticket, the ratings rocket, the player who would finally give the WNBA what it's been chasing for decades: mainstream buzz, major sponsorships, and actual water cooler relevance. And to be fair, she did all that. The moment she stepped onto a professional court, the league's numbers skyrocketed. Suddenly, everyone from ESPN to your uncle who only watches March Madness had an opinion about the WNBA. But no one expected her to turn around and point the spotlight back on the league's dirty laundry. And yet, here we are. Because when Caitlin Clark supported Nafessa Keir and effectively challenged Cathy Engelbert's leadership, she flipped the script. What was supposed to be a carefully managed rise of women's basketball quickly turned into a backstage brawl, with the league's biggest star stepping out of the role of poster girl and into the role of whistleblower. And here's the real kicker. The WNBA created this problem for itself. The league needed a face. They got one, but they failed to listen to the voices already in the room. They dismissed concerns. They silenced feedback. And now, the player they built everything around is standing with the people they ignored. Let's talk about why this matters. The WNBA isn't like other leagues. It's still in its growth phase. Every press hit, every viral moment, every star matters. So when a power struggle erupts, especially one involving the commissioner and the most marketable player on the planet, it's not just bad PR, it's existential. Caitlin Clark didn't just like a few tweets. She cracked open a conversation that the league clearly wanted to avoid, about safety, about respect, about accountability, and about who actually gets to decide how this league moves forward. Because it's not just Engelbert versus the players anymore. It's old school control versus new age visibility. It's silence versus social media. It's the carefully curated brand versus the raw, uncomfortable truth. And Clark, knowingly or not, picked her side. And Engelbert? She responded with a lawsuit. Let that sink in. The commissioner of the WNBA is suing her own league's most valuable asset, her biggest draw, her moneymaker. It's not just tone deaf. It's almost self-sabotage. You don't have to be a PR expert to see how catastrophic that looks. The lawsuit might technically be framed around defamation or mischaracterization, but the subtext is painfully clear. Fall in line or face consequences. And that message, it landed like a lead balloon. Because what Cathy Engelbert seems to forget is that players have options now. Platforms, voices, and most importantly, leverage. When Caitlin Clark speaks, people listen. And if she's calling out dysfunction, it's not going to be buried under press releases and spin. It's going to trend, instantly. And let's not pretend this lawsuit doesn't have chilling undertones. If Clark can be sued for siding with a fellow player while saying nothing false herself, what message does that send everyone else in the league? Shut up. Stay quiet. Don't question authority. But here's the thing. That strategy doesn't work anymore. This is in 2005. It's 2025. Players expect to be treated like stakeholders, not just athletes. They expect transparency. And when they don't get it, they go public. And public is exactly where this battle is playing out. Sports media has dropped the playbooks and picked up the popcorn. What started as an internal leadership issue is now a full-on soap opera, and it's unfolding in real time. Every tweet, every like, every awkward press conference is dissected, reposted, analyzed. And Caitlin Clark? She's holding steady. She's not ranting. She's not lashing out. She's simply not playing along. And that might be even more powerful, because silence can be louder than a press tour. She's letting the league twist itself into knots while she keeps her focus on the court, and quietly reminds everyone she's not here to be a puppet. Let's not forget, the league is also approaching a critical crossroads, the next collective bargaining agreement. If you thought things were tense now, just wait. Because if this is how the commissioner is handling player dissent before negotiations, what's going to happen when money, contract terms, and labor rights hit the table? What happens when every single player realizes the league star can be sued for speaking up? The lockout rumors aren't just noise. They're real. And if this lawsuit doesn't go away, or worse, if it escalates, it's going to poison the entire negotiation process. And here's where the fallout really hits. Sponsors aren't stupid. Neither are fans. They don't want to back a league that's imploding from the inside. They want momentum, good vibes, stories of growth and unity. What they're getting instead is a front-row seat to a leadership crisis, complete with legal threats, public infighting, and zero signs of resolution. Even NBA figures are starting to raise eyebrows. If you think the bigger league isn't watching this mess with concern, think again. The WNBA is partially backed by NBA infrastructure. And if this drama starts to tarnish the league's long-term viability, you better believe the pressure for leadership change is going to come from above. The irony is almost poetic. The WNBA finally gets a superstar with the ability to move the cultural needle. And instead of protecting her, empowering her, and working with her, the commissioner turns her into a courtroom adversary. That's not just short-sighted. It's a masterclass in self-destruction. And here's the worst part. None of this had to happen. Clark wasn't asking for special treatment. Keir wasn't making wild demands. The players wanted basic things: clarity, respect, honest leadership. And instead of listening, Engelbert pulled rank. And now, she's exposed the league's biggest vulnerability: its own refusal to evolve. What happens next will set the tone for years. If Engelbert doesn't back down, or if the league refuses to acknowledge how badly this has been handled, the players are going to push harder, and the fans will take sides. And the sponsors, they'll start looking for exit routes. And Caitlin Clark, she'll be just fine, because when this is all said and done, she'll still have fans. She'll still have the media. She'll still have options. She's too big to be erased, too smart to be baited, and too important to be sidelined. The WNBA, on the other hand, might not be so lucky. They had a chance to build something historic, a new era, a real movement. But they chose control over collaboration. And now, they're learning what happens when you try to silence the very voice you helped amplify. So here we are, on the edge of what could be a total meltdown or a turning point. The players have spoken. The fans are watching. And the league's next move will define its future. Will they fix the mess? Or will this lawsuit become the symbol of a league that refused to listen, even when the truth was staring them in the face? Your guess is as good as ours. This isn't just another league drama. This is the drama. Because this time, the power dynamic has shifted. Not in theory. Not in some vague player empowerment slogan. But in action, in real time, and with the full weight of public opinion behind it. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player anymore. She's the flashpoint, the one name the league cannot afford to alienate. And yet somehow, they've managed to do exactly that. She's not giving dramatic press conferences. She's not clapping back in interviews. She's doing something far more threatening to a system built on control. She's withholding her approval. That's what this entire situation boils down to: approval. For years, the WNBA's leadership has operated on the assumption that players will show up, shut up, and smile through it. That being part of a growing league meant swallowing the politics, the pain, and the PR blunders. But now, that silent agreement has been broken. And the message is crystal clear. You don't get to ride our image while ignoring our reality. Caitlin Clark backing Nafessa Keir wasn't just a solidarity move. It was a calculated rejection of the idea that leadership knows best. Because when Engelbert dismissed Keir's concerns, when she spun the narrative, when she tried to cast doubt on what was said and what was meant, she was relying on the idea that no one big enough would challenge her. Then Clark hit like, and that one click echoed across the entire league. It was subtle, but it was everything. It said, I see what's happening, and I'm not okay with it. That's the kind of move you can't walk back, especially when you're Caitlin Clark. And now, Engelbert's fighting for her job with a lawsuit no one believes is about justice. It's about optics. It's about intimidation. It's about making an example out of someone the league literally built its brand around this year. And the absurdity of that, suing your star while pretending everything is fine, isn't lost on anyone, not the fans, who've been loudly asking why Clark isn't better protected on the court, not the media, which has already turned Engelbert's credibility into a punchline, and definitely not the players, who now know that if Clark isn't safe from retaliation, no one is. The league has effectively drawn a line in the sand, and instead of being on the side of its players, It's planted its flag in bureaucracy and ego. But here's the twist they didn't see coming. Players talk. Players watch. And when someone like Clark takes a stance, others feel braver about doing the same. We've already seen it. More players openly questioning decisions. More subtle shade. More support for Keir and the union. This isn't a one-off. It's a movement in progress. And it couldn't come at a worse time for the WNBA brass, because the league is still fragile, still fighting for legitimacy, still trying to prove it belongs in the mainstream sports conversation. It's on the brink of something great or something catastrophic, and whether the league tips one way or the other might come down to how it handles this exact moment. Does it double down? Pretend that suing its most high-profile player isn't a PR nightmare? Or does it stop the bleeding, address the leadership crisis, and actually try, to rebuild trust with its players? Because make no mistake, trust is broken. This isn't just about a lawsuit. It's about years of under-the-surface tension exploding into full view. Years of players feeling dismissed, overlooked, and told to be grateful. And now that one of the most media-savvy, high-visibility players in the game has pulled the curtain back, it's game over for that old model. The WNBA can either evolve into a league that listens or become a cautionary tale of how not to handle success. Caitlin Clark didn't start this fight, but she might be the one who forces a resolution just by refusing to play along. So what now? If Engelbert doesn't step back, or if the league doesn't step in, this drama will keep escalating. The lawsuit will drag. The CBA talks will turn into a battlefield. And the players, they'll keep speaking out. With their words, their tweets, their performances, and maybe, eventually, their absence. Because when you've got the power of the fan base, the spotlight of the media, and the support of your peers, walking away becomes a lot less risky. And Clark, she has all three. The WNBA better make a choice soon, before its biggest opportunity turns into its biggest failure. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Should Engelbert step down? Is Caitlin Clark rewriting the rules of athlete leadership? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns of the biggest meltdowns in sports, pop culture, and corporate chaos. Because the way this league is going, you're going to want front row seats.